30 days from an economy-crippling deadline where everyone's taxes go up and massive spending cuts kick in. Yet talks seem to be going nowhere. Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner, who is leading negotiations for the White House, will be the guest on This Week with George Stephanopoulos. And George is with us now. Good morning, George.
Hey, guys.
Hey, George. You know, last weekend you sat right here and said that you were reasonably optimistic that a deal could be afoot. In the intervening week, we've seen a lot of trash talking from both sides, talk of a stalemate. Can we still be somewhat hopeful?
Much harder to be optimistic this week, no question about it. This week was a rough week in these negotiations. Talk about Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner. When he went up to Capitol Hill on Thursday, the Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell laughed when he got the offer from Tim Geithner. They think it's an offer that doesn't show any move towards compromise. House Speaker John Boehner says the talks are at an absolute stalemate right now, and there does seem to be a huge divide. Democrats are saying they're not going to make another move until the Republicans clearly say they're going to go for an increase in tax rates. And Republicans are saying they're not prepared to make another move unless the Democrats are prepared to have greater savings in entitlements like Medicare. So this is a stalemate right now. Now, these things always look horrible before they come together, but more and more voices are saying there's a good chance that this is going to go over the fiscal cliff, at least for a few days in January.
And Democrats seem to be thinking that if indeed we do go over the fiscal cliff, voters will likely blame the Republicans for that. Do you think that's true, or are Democrats overplaying their hand?
All the polls show that right now, but that doesn't mean Democrats aren't overplaying their hand, because no one knows what the consequences will really be if we go over that cliff. We know the tax hikes go up. We know the spending cuts kick in. Some estimates would be Ben Bernanke, the Fed chair, fears that would throw the country into recession. That would end up hurting Democrats, the whole country, and of course, President Obama. So they have to be careful here as well. But Democrats and the president clearly believe they have the leverage to force an increase in these tax rates on the upper income Americans before they agree to a deal.
Well, I'll be watching the stock market as well if that does indeed happen. The president's also concentrating on recasting his new cabinet. And one name that came up yesterday is a replacement for Leon Panetta at the Defense Department, actually a Republican, Chuck Hagel, former senator from Nebraska,
who currently heads the president's Foreign Intelligence Advisory Board. It's possible, but there's so many. This is a real game of musical chairs right now. The president has to fill at least three big jobs in national security: Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Leon Panetta at Defense, and David Petraeus at the CIA, who, of course, now the acting director is serving. And if the president does not choose Susan Rice, then it could mean John Kerry goes to State and Chuck Hagel goes Defense. But if he chooses Kerry for State, then you could end up having Hagel go to CIA. We just don't know right now, but all those names are in play as we talk.
And this wouldn't be his first Republican Secretary of Defense as well, right. Bob Gates.
Yep.
That's right,
former
absolutely
as well.
right.
All right, George,
Busy time.
very interesting.
Thanks, George.
And don't miss George's interview with Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner, as we mentioned, later this morning on This Week.